Hello everybody, Lucid Dream Infinity. This is Andrew. I got a question from a fellow YouTube user about fear and nightmares and sort of how we can go about approaching nightmares and fear within the context of lucid dreams and within the sort of circumstances of being lucid. So let's get started with that. That's a really important question, and I'm kind of eager to give an answer to that. So first of all, the thing that we have to understand here is that every night when we go to sleep and we dream, it's sort of like we're visiting the therapist's couch. It's kind of like going to the therapist. Our minds, our dreams, our unconscious minds are sort of, showing us things about ourselves through imagery and through dream experiences in ways that are not necessarily immediately logical, or in ways that we might not understand easily with our waking consciousness. The sleeping mind, the dreaming mind is very symbolic. It sort of operates in terms of archetypes and icons and symbols and things like that. So what it shows us and what our minds reveal to us when we're sleeping are the sort of the things that we're thinking about and processing and maybe concerned with or excited about or sad about or happy about at a very deep level, at sort of a very core level. And so we're sort of going through all of that in our dreams and processing all of that. So if you're suffering from nightmares and fear in dreams, your mind is trying to tell you something. It's trying to bring something to your attention. And so sort of, working through that fear in the dream state. And so it's sort of been, documented that nightmares and having really scary dreams can trigger incidences of lucidity, right? Where somebody's having a kind of a scary dream, and they become lucid, and then a lot of times at that point the person just sort of wakes up from the dream. Once they realize that they're dreaming and having a nightmare, they wake up. I think that that's a rather common sort of experience. Now, here's the thing though. If you are having a nightmare and you're able to become lucid while the nightmare is occurring, and thus your nightmare sort of becomes a lucid dream, or there's this term lucid nightmare. At that point you've got a lot more options. All of a sudden you're not sort of being a victim anymore in the dream. All of a sudden you don't have to play that role anymore once lucidity has been ignited. So there's, at that point, if you're able to become lucid in a nightmare, there's a lot of different things you can do with it. So in terms of developing a greater self-awareness, self-understanding, self-actualization of what I was saying a couple moments ago about the symbology of dreams and how dreams sort of represent ways that the mind is working through the different sorts of feelings and issues and things that are going on a deeper level. If you become lucid in a nightmare, if you want to develop a greater understanding of your fear and what's causing that fear, one thing to do would be, well, first of all, to really establish that lucidity and stabilize it, and really allow that occurrence to sink in. Aha, this is a dream, right? Becoming lucid and allowing that lucidity to become stable are two steps in a process towards developing a solid lucid awareness in a dream. So allow that realization of lucidity to really sink in and to become strong, and use your voice. I've talked about this before. Use your voice and say, I am lucid. This is my dream. So at that point, if you want to develop a sort of greater understanding of your fear and where it's coming from, one option you have at that point is to continue with the nightmare, except this time you're lucid. So you know that it's a nightmare. You know that it's a dream. You might still feel fear for whatever reason, but once you're lucid, that enables you to observe the nightmare with a greater understanding of what's actually happening. And so the great advantage of being lucid in a nightmare is that you can sort of really look at the dream and see what's happening, and in that sense develop a greater understanding of what it is that's causing your fear on that very deep sort of primal level in which it is manifesting in the dream, right? So you're lucid in a nightmare, and that all of a sudden becomes a great opportunity for cultivating a greater awareness or understanding of what it is in waking life that's creating these really scary, disturbing, nightmarish sorts of dreams. So that's one option, and then of course, having developed that understanding and being lucid in the nightmare and realizing what it is that's causing the nightmare, having that understanding, you're going to be able to take steps to fix that in your waking life, and to sort of develop a strategy or a plan so that you can resolve whatever issues or fears or anxieties you might have in your waking physical life, and in that sense make your life and your mind more harmonious, so that you're not plagued by these nightmares and these scary dreams, right? So that's one option. Once you become lucid in a nightmare, is to just continue with the nightmare and see what happens, and use that as a learning experience from which to make changes to your waking life, so that you don't have those sorts of dreams anymore. And then of course the other option is once you become lucid in a nightmare, and the lucidity becomes really firm and stabilized, right, and strong, and you've like, okay, I'm lucid, I'm in a dream, this was a nightmare, but now I'm lucid and I know there's no reason to be afraid. Once that lucidity is in place, you don't have to continue with the nightmare, right? You can do anything you want to with it. So one thing I would highly recommend in that sort of a situation is using your voice and saying, this is my dream, taking ownership of the dream, claiming responsibility for it in a very empowered and powerful sort of way. This is my dream, that in that way. And so bringing that sort of security and strength to yourself within the lucid nightmare is also going to help to mitigate some of that fear. And so obviously, if you want to, you can just fly away from the nightmare, or use the spinning technique and go into a different dream environment, whatever it is. But I think that in this case, my personal recommendation for this is that nightmares and fear and scary dreams occur because your mind is trying to tell you something. It's trying to show you something. So if you just become lucid and blast off into the air and fly away, or fire a lightning bolt out of your hand, or just destroy and demolish and crush whatever it is that's trying to scare you, you might be missing out on what your dream and your subconscious mind is trying to teach you, or trying to show you, or trying to reveal to you through that dream of fear. So just be aware of that. Be conscious that there's an important message there with fear. Fear generally accompanies something very significant and important. A lot of cases, fear is related to our survival, right? Like, why is it that human beings are sort of instinctively avoid snakes and spiders, and that we, don't like those things, right? Because it's related to, survival mechanisms and things like that. So dreams with fear and nightmares, I think, can be very significant and important things to pay attention to, because they're trying to show us something, and we should pay attention to that so that we can sort of make the changes that we need to in our waking lives, so that we become happier and healthier and more sort of holistic. Okay, so that's the story with fear and nightmares and lucid dreams. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you guys in the next video.